I'm Tommy Dimsdale, and welcome to the Dimsdale Debate. As of March 22nd, 2010, the Obama administration pushed a law through Congress and the Senate to socialize all medical procedures in the United States as well as medicine. The elections are coming up very fast, and both Republicans, Democrats, and Independents are wondering, what is Obamacare? What's in the bill? I want to make this video so that you at home can see very quickly without having to watch hours of news and read books like I have. I've researched it quite thoroughly. And be able to tell what's in the bill and if you're really for it or not. So first off, I want to talk to you about, of course, Obamacare. We're going to tell you about the impacts on the private healthcare industry. We're going to how the promise of being able to keep your own insurance is actually inaccurate. How the bill is slowing job growth even before its activation of January 1st, 2014. We're going to answer the questions of, well, once this goes through, how is my healthcare going to change? What's it going to be like with the government in it? And we're also going to explore the constitutionality of the bill, or lack thereof. Alright, next we're going to look at some major tendencies of socialized medicine. By looking at other countries right now who have socialized medicine, we can see that they always have fewer doctors than us. Because the government is trying to save money, they're not going to be paying doctors nearly what the private sector is paying them, and therefore you're going to have less doctors going to the field unless they just have a wonderful, great passion to be a doctor. They're not going to spend 10 years of their life going to college just to end up with a regular job salary. Because you're going to see fewer doctors, you're going to have much longer waiting lines. In Great Britain right now, they have socialized medicine, and 20% of colon cancer patients have already moved into the incurable stage by the time the government even gets to see them. That's a major danger with socialized medicine. You're going to see a limited number of diagnosis tests. If you've got something that's bad wrong with you and you try to get tests done and they can't figure it out, they have to figure that out within a limited number of tests before the government says, no, it's costing us too much money. And then again, what is going to keep the government from saying no if Granny gets cancer and now only has a 30% chance of living? She's not contributing to paying taxes. You know, she's probably retired, and she's not contributing to the system. What's going to keep the government from saying, you're not contributing, you've only got a 30% chance of living, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. Your health care has been declined. Also, you're also going to see rationing of medicine. Doctors can actually be penalized for giving you the best medicine out there because they're going to be using the cheaper, watered down stuff. They're saving money. So you're going to see that if you've got a lesser chance of living, they might give you medicine. Instead of telling you no, they might give you lesser medicine just because they can't afford it. A lot of voters today are wondering, will I lose my coverage? One side say I can keep it, the other side say I'm going to lose it. This is the truth. If you were insured by your employer, the government is going to come to your employer and say, hey, if you do not want to insure these people, which costs a lot of money to do, especially in the Obamacare plan, if you don't want to insure these people, we will fine you with an 8% payroll tax. Of course, that is much cheaper than insuring the employees, and of course, the average business owner in hard times, which it is going to have to rake you off to a government pool. Now say, well, I don't have to worry about that, I'm privately insured. If you are privately insured, of course, Obamacare is going to be very detrimental to the private side of healthcare because they have a pre-existing condition mandate. They're going to go to insurers and say, you have to include people with pre-existing conditions on your policies no matter what. This means if I get cancer, I can go to my insurance agency if the government won't pay for it and say, hey, sign me up, and they have to. As soon as I'm cured of my cancer, I can jump off the policy and be fine, and of course the insurance company has lost tens of thousands of dollars helping me get better, and that's going to happen many times. And the private insurance industry is not going to last under that. Also, this is the unconstitutional part about it. If you are not insured, you will be forced into a government pool. And if you refuse to be in that government pool, you will face a $200,000 fine or 5 years of prison for not complying with the Obamacare mandate. This is illegal. The government cannot tell you that you have to buy something. Now we have to look at how is it affecting us right now. The job hiring is slow right now. I've actually been to a couple businesses and asked the managers how they're dealing with this, and they said, well, we don't want to pay the fine and we don't want to insure people. Both are way too expensive. So they're actually going to their full-time employees, and the bill states if you've got more than 30 full-time employees, you must insure them. They're going to go to them and say, no, you have to be bumped out to 25 hours a week instead of 40 because we can't afford to keep you as a full-time employer. Otherwise, we're either going to get fined or forced to insure you. Now, this being consumer spending-based economy, you drop everyone's, or most, maybe half the country's hours back to 25 hours a week, it's going to be very, very hard on the economy. So right now what employers are doing is they're dropping people back right now. That way when January 1st comes along in 2014, they can tell the government, well, we've always had people at 25 hours. Because if the government looks at it and as soon as the mandate goes into effect, everybody drops back, they're going to say, you know what, that's not allowed. We're going to back tax you from January 1st back to March 22nd of 2010 when the law was voted in, and that's going to cause a lot of money for businesses. So it is a little bit lesser of two evils because surely back taxing for employees between, for 4 years is going to be a major hurt on our economy. Well, after all this, you can say, well, he's pretty down about this. However, there is an alternative. There's two alternatives, actually, and one proposed in Congress, and there's one that's probably never going to be proposed in Congress. However, when this was trying to go through, we saw the decline of the H.R. 3400, the Republican alternative. It was comprised of 64 pages instead of the 1,100 pages that the Obamacare was. And that 1,100 pages is just chock full of new rules, regulations, tax codes, and red tape. But what the H.R. 3400 does is it makes it where if I live in Texas, I can buy insurance in South Carolina, I can buy it in California, or New York, or Montana, or wherever I want to do it. I can do it all the way across the United States. Therefore, that raises the competition and directly lowers premiums, directly lowers prices. It's just a simple economic rule. Like I said, it's increased competition among insurers, directly lowers costs. This leads, now if this does pass, or it has passed, if it does go into effect, and he is elected for another 4 years, it goes to a slippery slope. This is one thing that the Supreme Court argued over. Well, what else can government manage if they manage your health care? A lot of things. Foods you can eat. Of course, the food that we consume directly affects our health. Therefore, the government can mandate us to eat healthy. I'm not saying that it's in this bill, but it will be later on down the road. This is the largest government outreach or overreach of private industry that we've ever seen. There would be a lot of regulation on smoking, drinking, and tobacco products. I'm not for any of these. However, if you want to do them, that's your constitutional right. It should not be impeded upon. But under Obamacare, it will be, because smoking, drinking, and tobacco products is obviously detrimental to your health, and therefore it's going to raise the cost of health care for the government. It opens the door to regulate what kind of car you drive. Oh, it's not efficient enough. What kind of house you live in. You got to be in this updated house. You need to move out of this one. We're going to tear it down. Mandatory exercise. Of course, mandatory exercise deals directly with our health, so we might have to log a certain number of hours for exercising. What phone you use, etc. It just opens the door to this. I'm not saying that all this is in the bill. I'm not saying all of it is going to happen. But think about it. It definitely can. The other method I was talking about, take a little bit of explaining. Let's say that I have a convenience store. So I've just opened it up and Coca-Cola walks by, or the company rides by, and they see that their product is in my store. Well, let's put a kiosk in there. So yeah, sure, I can sell Cokes, put it in, we'll make some money. Pepsi comes by next week and sees I've got a Coca-Cola products kiosk in my store. They come by and say, we'll give you $500 to put our kiosk in your store. This is competing for market presence. Coke comes by next week, sees Pepsi in there. Okay, well, they gave you $500, we're going to give you $1,000, and so on and so forth. So it becomes a bidding war for market presence. This is, and the next thing you know, the prices of Coca-Cola and Pepsi skyrocket because they're putting so much more of their money into getting out to the public. This is this exact same thing that's happened in our medical market. You've got all these brand name drugs and brand name companies that have the money to get on the market, and you've got all these generic drugs floating around that do the exact same thing, do just as good a job as brand name drugs, but they don't have the money to get out there. Well, who are they paying? How does the government involve? The FDA, of course. Now, because each company is competing for market presence, of course, the prices of medicine are going to skyrocket. And that's what they've done. That's exactly why it is so doggone expensive. So there's 3 reasons that medicine costs so much. Government, government, government. The more government you put into something, the worse it gets. Of course, I'm probably going to get a couple comments on this. Of course, I support government with foreign policy and military. That's exactly what the Constitution designed the government for. However, it is not designed to impede on our rights. To say that you can't eat this, you can't eat that, you must buy this health care, and I have a right to have private health care if I want it. So if the information stops right here, it's done good. But however, the more you tell people, the better it is, and the more I want to make these kind of videos. If you got any questions, leave them in the comments below. Of course, I'm going to be posting the Dimsdale Debate Healthcare Report just a little bit later. I got to work just a few kinks out of it, and you're going to see many more details and the argument against Obamacare. There's going to be, you read this report, you're going to be able to argue with any liberal, any coworker, any family member. So go out there, read it, educate yourselves, and don't just educate yourselves, educate others, and fact check me. Sure keeps me sharp also. So once again, this is Tommy Dimsdale with the Dimsdale Debate. Good night.
That we're all American, in God we trust, just living the dream and never giving up in what we believe in. Yeah, we're all American, and we work real hard, light the barbecue up every July 4th, and hot apple pie, baseball and friends. We're all American.